and doing things, and it's causing so much of struggle. Not because it's right or wrong, it is just a question of what works for us here. So, as policy makers, the main policy is just this: human well-being is the policy, isn't it? That's all the policy is. All other policies should be around that. There's a single policy for any government, it must be the well-being of the citizens of that nation. Rest of the policy is only incidental, and it could be changing every other day. As long as we keep the basic well-being of the citizens as the main policy, other policies can keep on changing as situations change. But unfortunately, we get identified with policies and systems and ideologies, and we forget all this nonsense we created only for human well-being, isn't it? So there is only one policy, actually, human well-being, well-being of the life on this planet. That is the only policy. To fulfill that one policy, we may have to continuously evolve what we are doing. Coming to thinking out of box and for Asia and the current meltdown, I mean, there are a variety of people from various parts of the world, but let me say this. I'm not saying this with any kind of identity from a nation or a region, but one thing is clear, that a few hundred years ago, or for example, about 250 years ago, Asia was the most vibrant economic and social situation on the planet. That's why every European ship, risking their life, they wanted to come to India because it was the most vibrant economy on the planet. For whatever reasons, for multiple reasons, these things change. And it went down, and almost 12, 15 generations of very abject poverty happened, and various structures and strengths of the society diminished over a period of time. All these things have happened. Once again, they're trying to rejuvenate that, but there are many missing links in that. We have to work on many things which unfortunately our policymakers are still grappling with. It's not that there is lack of understanding, but there's lack of implementation for various reasons. But now the current meltdown, if you ask me, I don't know, none of you are going to like this, it's a very good thing. For me, it's a very good thing, because the kind of economic structures we have created are simply unrealistic. Simply unrealistic. If you go at this pace, see right now, for example, if you take American economy as the ideal, because that's the richest society on the planet, if you take that as the standard, and if you provide that for 7 billion people on this planet, I think we just have another 30, 40 years for extinction. Yes? Am I exaggerating? Am I exaggerating? There's only one man. So, somewhere we have to reinvent the way to run an economy, that it is not self-destructive in the process of creating prosperity. Prosperity at what cost is something we have to look at. So one thing is definitely to relook at the very idea of what is development. We really have to look at this. The very idea of prosperity is something we have to look at. Prosperity does not necessarily mean simply more and more, okay? Because there is no more and more. There is only this much. There is only one planet to live on. I know the ladies are planning to export the men to Mars and wherever else, but there's actually right now only one planet. There is no endless more, there is only that much. How? To generate well-being for everybody within this, we have to completely rethink our ideas of well-being, our ideas of prosperity, our ideas of success in the world. I think meltdown has brought that kind of thought process in the world to some extent. But once again, they're all getting hyped up because the share markets are moving up. Even large companies, I know I've been interacting with them very closely, very large companies, which are almost like small nations by themselves. In fact, their annual turnovers are bigger than the budgets of many nations. Even such companies, unfortunately, are still operating from quarterly balance sheet to quarterly balance sheet. This is a very poor way of looking at life. You want to be ahead in the next quarterly balance sheet, it's just very disturbing that leaders who are, when I go to Davos, I just look at these people, a little over 2,000 people, they control more than 80% of the world's economy. And they don't have to be desperate about the next quarterly balance sheet. That's not the way to look at life. It needs to be looked little more long-term. Beyond our life, we have to look at the well-being, isn't it? We are living here as if we are the last generation. That's not good. So the kind of well-being that we had known in this part of the world, in this region in the world, was of a totally different kind in the past. Only thing was, the democratic process was missing to some extent. Other than that, generally people lived well. Even when monarchies were there, many of them were very gentle monarchies which handled things well, People were happy. That's all that ultimately matters. People were happy, that's all that matters. Not this system or that system. There's no ideal system on the planet. Who is managing the system? That's what makes the difference, isn't it? Yes? Any system can be made to work beautifully if the right kind of people are handling it. The wrong kind of people, you give it whatever great systems in their hands, they will ruin it. So, we need to first of all focus on producing the right kind of people who have a larger vision of life than a very narrow focus towards a very narrow goal, which is very, very destructive. So meltdown is a good opportunity. One thing is to rethink many things, and also, no matter what you do, Asia never had a level playing field for various reasons. For the first time, there is a possibility that there could be a level playing field if you make use of this situation properly. Not against somebody, but if general well-being on the planet has to happen, there definitely needs to be a much more level playing field. Otherwise, it will just lead to continuous processes of exploitation which has been happening all the time. Initially it was Asia, now everybody's focus is on Africa. People are not interested in the African people. They are only interested in the African wealth. That's not a good way to approach any space. Because today it'll be on somebody, tomorrow it'll shift to somebody else, the focus. Yes? So our way of structuring economies in the world has to come… if you want to create a more gentler economies, more compassionate economies where every human being can find a way through it, not be rubbed down by it, it's very, very important that the public policy comes from a different level of understanding. Market forces are fine to keep vibrance in the economy, but market forces should not direct the nature of life on the planet. Because commercial forces should not direct the life on the planet, the nature of life on the planet. They are good only to keep vibrancy in activity, and that's all. But right now we are allowing the commercial forces to decide how people live. Yes? I'm not making any particular comment on any company or whatever, but even a kindergarten child, a child which is going to kindergarten knows this much, that carbon dioxide is bad for him. Yes? But you bottle carbon dioxide and you say this is the real thing. Now we need to look at it. What is it? What is this about? Are we really interested in human well-being or just in somehow running something we call as economy which is against human well-being? There is no such thing. Nobody should call himself an economist, an environmentalist, this. Essentially, every human being should be focused towards how to create well-being for all life on this planet. That should be the fundamental policy. And this consciousness, if it doesn't arise on all levels, we will work towards our, diminishing human life on the planet, not for the well-being, because